Hi, and welcome to Long Live the Queen, where we talk about the women who made history. And by we, I mean the royal we, because it's just me. Today we're going to talk about Constance of Castile, Queen of France.
One day we will be remembered.
I know I did an episode on a Constance of Castile before. This is a different Constance of Castile. She is named Constance and from Castile, but this one was the Queen of France. Constance of Castile was born in 1138, give or take 2 years, because she was a girl, and who has time to write that down or keep track of that paperwork? We don't know a ton about her childhood, but her father was the King of Castile, Leon, and Galicia. He was working on uniting the Iberian Peninsula. He was a participant in the Second Crusade, along with the French, the same crusade that Eleanor of Aquitaine went on with her husband, King Louis VII. He would have become familiar with the royal couple and their marriage woes firsthand. The crusade was not a good look for their marriage. And her mother was not Eleanor of Aquitaine, so she didn't follow her husband to crusade. She was staying home and staying pregnant. She had Sancho in 35, Ramon in 36, Ferdinand in 37, Constance in 38, Sancha in 39, Garcia in 42, and Alfonso in 44. She was described as a very beautiful and extremely graceful young girl who loved chastity and truth and all God-fearing people. So she was sweet. If anyone else is watching the Decameron on Netflix, it's funny. You should watch it if you're not. Constance's mother reminds me of Nephele. That's the vibe I get, but that's where the comparison ends. King Louis of France would have noticed that she was having babies on babies on babies, and quite a few of them were male. Eleanor of Aquitaine was perfect to him, except for the fact that she rarely got pregnant and never with a boy. When Constance was about 11 years old, her mother died. We don't know of what, but so many babies so often could have contributed. She was only 33 at the time of her death. 3 years after her mother's death, her father's old crusade friends were having marriage troubles again. After the crusade, they had conceived their trying to save our marriage baby. But she had been another girl, so that did not work. They were getting their marriage annulled on the grounds of God didn't dig this marriage. All those girls they had were proof of that, both of them, both girls. The official reason was that they were related. They were third cousins once removed. But the Pope had said it was okay. But some revaluation was happening after the couple only had 2 girls. Now it was looking like maybe it wasn't the blessed union they thought it was. The King of France needed a new bride, and he needed a son. And the former Queen of France had moved on and had multiple sons with the new King of England. All of that drama is in Eleanor of Aquitaine's episode. Constance was still only 14 at the time, but her father threw her name into the hat as the next potential Queen Consort of France. And 2 years later, 16-year-old Constance of Castile was marrying 34-year-old King Louis VII of France, her father's old crusade friend. The point of this marriage was to have male children. The king's first wife only had 2 daughters, and France was a boys-only club. The Capetian family line lay in the hands of 16-year-old Constance of Castile. No pressure. On top of this, the whole country had been told that the reason God didn't like that first marriage was because the bride and groom were third cousins once removed. The groom and his new bride were even more closely related. They were second cousins. For my family tree stands out there, the bride's father's father's father was also the groom's mother's mother's father. Or, to put it another way, the bride's paternal grandfather and the groom's maternal grandmother were siblings, and both the children of William I, Count of Burgundy. So that's awkward. To make things just a little more difficult for this 16-year-old, her new husband was very, very pious. He had been raised to be a priest until his older brother had died unexpectedly. Then boom, he was the new Dauphin. He had been suited to the celibate lifestyle. He seemed to suffer from an extraordinary amount of Catholic guilt from sexual activities, even within the confines of a marriage. So it took a few years, but by the time Constance was 19, she was expecting a baby, hopefully a boy. Alas, we don't have a birthday because it wasn't a boy. Sometime in 1157, the teenage queen had a baby, Princess Margaret. She was halfway to the two girls that had befallen her predecessor. Later, probably because we don't have a birthday that year, her father also died. Towards the end of the year, the King and Queen of England sent Thomas Becket to France to set up a baby betrothal. This is awkward for a couple of reasons. The Queen of England was the former wife of the King of France. They had had children together that were being raised in France, Constance's stepdaughters. But also the marriage was supposed to be the son that the Queen of England had just had after leaving the French king. She left, had a few boys. Her ex was still trying to get one. But this would make Constance's baby daughter the future Queen of England, in theory. It took another year, but then the 2-year-old Princess Margaret was betrothed to 5-year-old Prince Henry of England. The next year, big news in Europe, the papal election of 1159. The short story is the majority wanted Pope Alexander III. The minority wanted Pope Victor IV. Catholic Civil War. But that's another story for another time. The year after this Catholic throwdown, 22-year-old Constance was pregnant again, hopefully with the long-awaited boy. On the 4th of October, 1160, Constance was having this baby. We don't know exactly what happened, but the day that Princess Alice was born, her mother, 22-year-old Queen Constance of France, died. How did she die? Likely from blood loss, either bloody flux hemorrhaging or from an emergency C-section, either before or after her own death. But it could have been exhaustion or any number of health issues. For the second time in his life, the King of France was without a wife, and he had only 2 daughters that had come out of that marriage. He was a single father of 4 daughters, and he needed a 3rd wife. And that is where I'll leave it for now. This was a short one, guys. She died when she was just 22, trying to fulfill what many people saw as her only job, furthering the Capetian family line. If you enjoyed this episode, give it 5 stars, or like, or heart, or whatever option they give you on whatever platform you're listening to it on. Leave a comment, even if it's just a heart, or where you're listening from. We are streamed in 41 countries, guys, and that's pretty fun. Long live to all the queens out there, and until next time, bye.
Will be remembered.
Thanks for listening.